Greetings, Talvar. I hope you have had a fantastic week last week, and we're going to kick it off this week with a bit of a review of the Meta Monday and look at the state of Tau. Also kind of have a brief snapshot of the previous weekend from a competitive standpoint, and no surprise to most that Daka Orcs has dominated the scene, and we're going to kind of like touch on that slightly, but focus on the Tau results. And like I did last time, I'll be providing links in the description below with those lists that I'll mention in this video today. So you'll get a snippet of all the different spicy lists out there and different detachments. And there's actually some interesting ones with the new experimental prototype Cadre. And it's good to see that Tau chassos out there are trying things that are new. And let's get straight into it, shall we? So, again, I want to give credit to Meta Monday. They do a fantastic job. They give us the updates that we so need, and without them we wouldn't have this amazing set of data to use to improve our performance and have a snippet of what's going on out there. So hats off to you guys. You do an amazing job, and if you guys want to check out the page, possibly support it on its Patreon, please go ahead. So, big weekend, 14 events, just short of 1,000 players. And it's the first big weekend with the data slate, and there's some big changes in the meta landscape out there that they've said. So if we look at some of the major events that happened, one in the UK, done by the UKTC, it's the South Coast 40k Super Major. So the top 8 had a playoff. It was 243 players, 5 rounds. First position, Daka Orcs, 7-0. Second position, Orcs, Daka, 7-0. Orcs, Daka, 6-1. Only losing to another Orc player with Daka. So, we may have a meta problem for Daka. Admech, Halo Screed, the Grotmus attachment coming in 4th. Dark Angel, Stormlands, 5th. Admech, Skitari, 5-1. Guard, Index, 4-1-1. And Eldari, you need 4-1-1. So an interesting top 8 outside of the Orc Daka. You have 2 variants of Admech, a Dark Angels, Guard, and Eldari. Then we have another Super Major that happened over in the USA. It was called the Rocky Mountain Open 2025, 222 players, 6 rounds. Let's have a look at the top 3. Orcs, Daka, 6-0. Orcs, Daka, 6-0. And you guessed it, third position, Daka, 6-0. So clearly that's identified. Yes, I know the data is slightly skewed because all the top players will have moved on to this detachment because it's busted, and I'm not throwing any shade towards the fellow top players. I get it, it's just the way of the beast, and in this case, Orcs are just very potent. But then if we look at the rest of the performances, we have Tyranids, Crusher Stampede, again a consistent army, just Monster Mash, stat check, 5-1-0. Space Marines Vanguard, again a popular Space Marine detachment, and that's 5-1. The new Custodes, 5-1. Demons Incursion, 5-1. Demons new detachment Shadow Legion, 5-1. Death Guard, 5-1. Imperial Knights, 5-1. Votan, 5-1. Necrons, 5-1, but that's Awakened. Guard, the Hammer detachment, 5-1. Tau Auxillary by John, who does Tau Tactics over on YouTube, with Auxillary Cadre going 5-1. Then you got GSC, Guard, Hammer again, Death Guard, Plague, Custodes, Solar, GSC, Demons, Plague Legion, Death Guard 5-1. So some steady eddies in terms of lists, like your typical NID, Stat Check. Votan are a very honest 40k army and been doing quite well consistently for a while now. Guard switching over from Bridgehead to Hammer, simply because Go Through Walls is really good. GSC, Stat Check style army, Death Guard, Stat Check style army. So you're starting to see a little bit of a pattern in the meta here. Consistent Stat Check armies are consistently doing well, and then obviously you've got some random eggs thrown in there, and then you've got the most potent Daka. So in terms of the ones that we're going to be reviewing are going to be the South Coast Super Major, because there's a few, one particular Tau player that I know personally, and he's on my Discord, and it's been a pleasure to see him perform and develop as a player over the years. It's Will B, who ran traditional Kion, and he just missed out on the top 8, and we'll be reviewing his Kauyon list. Then we'll be reviewing John's Auxillary Tau list, and maybe if one other one done by Noah with the Puretide Cadre. And then we'll also be reviewing, which one was it called? 1 second, let me find it. There's another one somewhere. I haven't loaded up that one, but I will do. And we'll also review this one here, the Other Realms 40k at Brawl at the Brewery, with another Kion list. And in summary, the takeaways from Meta Monday is clearly more Dakar is taking names this weekend. Orcs had 5 event wins, 4 from Dakar lists. They were the 4th most played faction and had an overall win rate of 62. So if you're not teching for this particular detachment, you're going to be in for a rough ride. And they had a Dakar performance of 67% win rate. Overall, they had 23 out of 61 players go X&O or X&1, taking the top 3 spots in both of the Super Majors this weekend. Eldari, consistent. Ynnari specifically, 61% win rate. They overall, as Eldari had 55 with 2 event wins. And then you had World Eaters at 53. Guard back down to 50. Combined Regiment had a 55. And then the rest. Tau had a 42% win rate with a new detachment. The Experimental Prototype Cadre also only having a 42% win rate and 1 top placing. So they've admitted here that Tau might need some serious love next update. I kind of agree. I think that the new detachment is great for especially the newer players joining the greater good. It's just a nice simple way of going, right, your detachment is plus 6 inches. I just think that even though it's really nice to see more creativity with the latest detachments we've had, i.e. Auxillary Cadre and the Prototype, I think that an inner... what's the word I'm looking for? How I want to describe this? I think there's just a couple of in-house problems with the way that Tau currently operate, and I think that needs addressing rather than adding extra new layers to new rules and new detachments. I think we just need a kind of a rework a little bit. And I have my own thoughts on that, and I've expressed them before, and I don't want to sound like a broken record, but the split firing penalty could be a great way of just removing that and giving us a quality of life, and then maybe looking at, rather than making us cheaper, looking at just changing a few mechanics. So let's get straight into some lists. So let me just, first off, I need to set up that event that I didn't have. 1 second. And the placings. Beautiful. Okay, well, as I've loaded up this one, we'll go into the Planet Arc K-Night 2025 overview. I think there was how many players in this event? It was a GT 36. And we have a Tau list coming in second place. Rylee Mckitterick from Dice Down Studios, and let's have a look at his list. So the scoring, 4 wins, 99, 91, 68, an 85 loss, which is a close loss, and 100. So scoring very well, 443 points out of 500, which I always like to see this metric because it showcases how consistent a player performs. So if you just did the basic maths of 443 divided by 5, you're looking at an average of 88.6 points. So if you round it up, 87 points per game, which is solid work, Rylee, so well done. But let's have a look into your list and what you took and why. Sit Tight, down by 311, will be played while my pure autism confuses you on how I even managed to find my way in through the front doors, let alone how to play Tau. So, Experimental Proto card. He has taken... sorry, I thought it was Kion for some reason. Ignore me. Experimental Prototype. He's gone for a Cadre Fireblade with 2 shield drones. He's gone with Commander Farsight and Commander Shadowsun. Nice little synergy here because the Prototype Cadre really wants to spend a lot of CP. So Farsight being able to have access to reducing a CP by 1, and most of the strats are 1 CP. In fact, all of them are 1 CP. So being able to do one of those for free is great. And then Shadow Sun has the ability to be able to give you a command point back on a 5+ in an aura of 6 inches. So should you spend one of those stratagems and next to her within 6 inches, you're going to have a 33% chance of getting one of those CP back, even if it's for free. So Farsight could spend one, maybe he recovers himself, maybe he just does the lethal or sustained, or both, and then goes, all right, Shadow Sun's nearby, thank you, on a 5+, I can get that command point back, even though I didn't spend it. Then we've got a Cold Star Commander with an Airburst Fragmentation Projector, a Cyclic Iron Blaster, a Plasma Rifle, 2 Shield Drones, Shield Generator, and they're taking the Supernova Launcher. So interesting, nice bit of consistent indirect because it's quite potent versus the lackluster standard profile. So I can see it. And then we go on to the rest of the list. A single Breacher Devilfish, and obviously the Cadre is going to go with the Breacher. I would have personally put 2 Gun Drones on the Cadre Fireblade, if I'm honest, because the Shield Drones aren't exactly going to save you because you're still a T3 body with only 3 wounds. Yes, you get 5 with the Shield Drones, but for me, more DACA, because the gun drones benefit from the ability of having extra shots, and with the AP3 should you roll 6s to wound, and the gun drones being twin linked, it kind of packs a punch. Then we have 2 units, 2 broadsides. This is the bread and butter in my opinion. I assume you'll be playing on GW. I haven't looked at the player pack, but you've gone with the Shield Drone, Missile Drone to give them extra wounds, so I don't mind that because they're quite durable and you can heal them. I personally prefer just more guns, so missile drones, because they already have 8 wounds. You got a twin smart missile system for indirect, and the rails and the missile drones and the weapon support system for ignoring modifiers to hit. So for me, durable unit, and because they have the built-in 4+ feel no pain against mortals, when you do trigger those offensive stratagems, you can simply just be like, well, I've got a 4 feel no pain to get me out of potentially a bad hazardous roll. So I like that. You got a Fire Knife team with all missiles. Again, makes sense because it synergizes with the Lone Op 18 because you've got 36-inch range, because the detachment gives you 6-inch range on everything. So missiles go from 30 to 36. So being able to make use out of that long-range firepower whilst also protecting them and not really caring about terrain because you can just Lone Op for 1 CP. And then you've got a Starsize battle team with all Flamers. A single 2 Ghost Kills, and 1 with Fusion Collider, 1 with the Cyclic Iron Raker. Again, Lone Up 12 naturally, but then the healing and the -1 to wound as well. So the -1 to wound stratagem can be played on Ghost Kills, and then the recovering wounds stratagem just states command phase, not your command phase. So if you had the CP, you could be potentially repairing a Ghost Kill in your command phase, but also in your opponent's as well. And then you've got a Kroot Carnivore squad, wouldn't leave home without one for sticky objectives, scout move 7, stealth. Then you're going with 2 units, 3 Rampages. This is controversial, and I do like it. I love a bit of controversy. Rampages is really good, 85 points, they're just cheap, and they're a little bit of a combat punch and can really help you get out of some situations where maybe, because you don't have Fire and Fade, you might want to shoot something from range and then kill the contents of what comes out of a transport, and the Rampages can definitely do that. A single Piranha, Stealth suits, which is pretty much mandatory, and a Vespid team. So well done on your performance, buddy. I like your different take on the list, and it's interesting to see people actually coming up with new variants of lists, especially with new detachments. So hats off to you. Then we're going to move on to the Other Realms 40k GT Brawl at the Brewery. So Tau finished in 4th position, and this is a gentleman called Reed Bell from Scatter Dice Podcast. And he is running a Kion list, so I am the greatest good you are ever going to get. So Shadow Sun, that's the only character. She's great in Kion because of the strats that Wall of Mirrors and the aura of reroll 1s to hit. And then you got a Breach team with a Delphish, a Ghost Kill with the Cyclic Iron Raker, Twin Fusion, Hammerhead with Rail, because there's nothing like rolling a 6 with Sustain Hits 2 for a Railgun. Kroot Carnivore Squad for Sticky, like I mentioned before, wouldn't leave home without them. Single Krootox Rider for an Action Monkey, or sitting on a home field objective, should you not, for example, have it sticky or you need to screen the backfield. Pathfinder team with Recon Drone, pretty much standard, in my opinion, having the ability to infiltrate because that's what the Recon Drone gives you, and then you've got innately Scout Move 7 It's a really good utility tool, and double guiding is one hell of a drug. Then we have a couple of trading pieces, but can also pump quite a bit of damage into, say, transports and be annoying. 2 single piranhas with the Seekers and the Fusions. Triptide is Eternal, Ions, Twin Missile System, Smart Missile Systems and Missile Drones. 2 Sky Rays, because they're great in Kion for the Coordinate to Engage, so you can guide and still have a durable body out in the open rather than relying on Pathfinders that usually will die if they expose themselves too much. And then you've got your standard 3 units of stealth suits and a unit of Vespid for uppy downy and secondary scoring. So a well-rounded Kauyon list, and Reed finished in 4th. So well done, buddy. Then we're going to go into... oh, maybe I did have it open. Oh, well. So I've already gone through Rylee's list. So many lists I've been looking at. Okay, so now we're going to go into one of the big events, so Rocky Mountain Open 2025, the 40k champs. So this had, was it 222 players, give or take? 222 exactly, yeah. And then our boy John, Kilcommons, took Auxillary Cadre, and actually the first round of the event, Rocky Mountain Open, is... John on stream on Wargames Live, so you can go and check out that game. I'll put the link in the description. John, I'd just like to say before we go on to your results and the list, I really enjoyed watching you play. I think the way that you were communicating, you and your opponents, was top notch and really high level, and it was a pleasure to watch this game. So well done to you, buddy. Keep that up. So his list that he took was the... Give me 1 second. We had John Kilcommons taking the Auxiliary Cadre. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. Well, you have sinned, mate. You've got a list that's now 1990. That does... Oh, that just hits my OCD. I don't like it. But anyway, let's have a look at what you put in your characters. So you got Commander Shadowsun. Again, a lone op. She's a Tau unit, so she can really synergize well with the auxiliaries, because being naturally lone op 12 and being able to give lone op 18 to nearby auxiliaries is a good choice. The other things you can do is things like Firesight Marksman, but Shadowsun is a force multiplier and also can get you some CP back as well. Then you've gone the Admired Leader Enhancement or Enforcer with 4 missile pods. Just a good durable body, gives AOC to a unit, and can have access to advancing with the stratagem for Tau units, and Admired Leader being able to give out extra OC and leadership to an auxiliary unit. So solid. I imagine they're going to be attached to a finite missile team. And then you've got your broadside battlesuits with weapon support system, seekers, and rails and missile drones, again for a dedicated anti-tank piece, and they're very good on GW, terrain, and UKTC because firing lanes are there for days, and they pack a punch, and potentially going up to strength 14 should you wish to do +2 strength if something is, let's say, a little bit extra durability like a Land Raider or something big. You can definitely punch up with that. So that makes sense. Like I said, finite missile team, there we are, that goes with the Enforcer. And then you got 2 Hammerheads, Ion Cannons, Seekers, Accelerated Burst Cannons. They're great in Auxiliary because of the extra EP, but also with the chance of getting extra strength should you need it. Then in terms of the auxiliaries, we're starting to see 2 units of Kroot, again sticky, Scout Move 7, and then obviously they work well with the detachments because that unit can advance into positions if it should need to, and also advance and charge should you need to. And you can also advance it as well, so you don't need to rely on an unreliable D6. Rampagers, baby. There's the money shot. 3 units of 3 Rampagers, which are fantastic trading, and I'm not going to put any spoilers. Go and watch the game on Wargames Live. They can punch up, they can advance and charge, they can reroll wounds if they need to, they can have extra AP, so if you do need to hit harder than what's on their standard datasheet, you've got stratagems for days. You just have to manage that CP accordingly because it can get quite intense, and you have to make choices. Then you've got a standard Pathfinder team with the Recon Drone, simply for double guiding, and also for another Tau unit to synergize to give auxiliaries lone op 18. Now, this is also an interesting pick. He's decided to bring flyers back, but this choice is very specific to Auxiliary Cadre And when I see this, I think, okay, so why has somebody chosen to take flyers? So GW terrain, it's perfect for them because you can just ignore the L shapes and the terrain features, and you just draw true line of sight from any part of your plane to any part of their model. So you don't care about terrain with flyers. And the Razor Shark has an ability where if it targets non-fly, it gets +1 to hit, and then obviously if you guide for it, you're going to have +1 ballistic skills. So these things can be hitting on 2s, and then if you happen to have an auxiliary unit, they can go up to AP3 on their ion guns. So it's still packing some Seeker missiles, and it's just that kind of speed. And I don't think people are teched for flyers nowadays because they just don't think that they're a thing anymore. But 170 points seems quite costly because for an extra 10 points you get unit 2 broadsides, but it's not specifically there for its output in that fashion. It's there because it can just ignore terrain, and you can do some clever stuff with move blocking and things like that. So hats off to you, buddy. You thought outside the box, and clearly it's worked well for you and caught people off guard. Then you've got the standard 3 units of 3 cell suits, and then 3 units of Vespid for uppy downy, lots of secondary potential, and also OC denial, plus obviously a fast moving auxiliary piece to really get the mileage out of that extra EP. So, well done, John. And then we've got another list that was running the prototype weapons system. Not prototype weapon system, sorry. Let me load it up. It was the experimental prototype Cadre, and run by Noah Keeth. So he was running a Cadre Fireblade, a Commander in Cold Star battlesuit with 4 missile pods, 2 shield drone, an Enforcer battlesuit with 4 flamers, marker drone, shield drone, and the thermonutronic projector. So stronger flamer, I think it's 612. And obviously it's Torrent, and then obviously you've got the marker drone, shield drone because he could then potentially guide, whether he's done solo or whether he's in a unit. If he's left on his own, he can then still guide for other things and still do damage with his flamers. Really good Overwatch, and also with this stratagem within the prototype that you can re-roll random shots with a CP. That makes sense. So I like that. And then you've got an Enforcer with 4 fusion blasters and 2 shield drones with the fusion blades. This enhancement is just amazing. You know, you can... when I practiced it, I've done something like 22 wounds to a big knight, and then 28 to an armiger, and then his other fusions have shot the other armiger and done like 14. So this guy can just pop off. So interesting that you chose an Enforcer, but I get that the AOC and on the GW terrain you might not need the Cold Stars as much. But I do obviously like speed, and I would have had it on a Cold Star, but with Taulis it can get quite tight when you're trying to allocate points, and that extra 15 points is, for example, the loss of an enhancement. So I understand that sometimes you just have to accept what you're given in terms of where your points land, but interesting nonetheless. And the AOC obviously helps keep the unit alive a bit more. And then you've got another Enforcer with the 3 plasma cyclic, but you've got the plasma accelerator rifle, which moving that plasma rifle to an additional shot, strength 10, additional damage and AP is just crazy. And for 10 points, it's sick. Honestly, it's a really, really good arrangement of enhancements in this detachment. And then you've got 3 breach teams for the OC, the extra range, and being able to kind of deny primary, but also punch up as well. Because that extra 6-inch range does matter for breachers. And you don't always have to have them in Devilfish as well. And you've gone with 3 Devilfish, so you want to keep everything in sync. So you've got 3 turns of denying someone's primary, but also then delivering quite a decent payload. And let me just double check. It's 1 single Cadre Fireblade. So yeah, you could use the basic breaches out first and then send the kill, the damaging hammer or the Cadre as and when you need to. So then the rest of the crisis suits are 2 fire knives, one all with missiles, the other all with plasma, because it makes sense. One guy goes with the plasma, one guy goes with the missile commander, because I believe you've got the missile commander as well. Yeah, missile commander Cold Star, which I missed that guy for some reason. So you got a Cold Star there with missiles, and then you got an Enforcer with plasmas. So makes sense. 2 fire knife teams. And then you've got a Star Scythe Flamer team, so again, could go with the Flamer Enforcer, or alternatively, you can not have them together. It all depends on your matchup. So I like the synergy that you've potentially created for yourself with the commanders and where they're attached to. Then you've gone with 2 dedicated anti-tanks, so 2 hammerhead with railguns, seekers and smart missile systems, just covering 2 separate flanks and can deal with heavy armor. So I don't hate that. It actually does matter with the extra range on the 6 inches for smart missiles, because between deployment zones and where those ruins are, usually you'd have to be past it to get your 30 inches SMS in range of stuff that's hiding behind maybe the wall in their deployment zone. But with the extra 6 inches, you can comfortably stage in a lot more casual manner in your backfield and still reach to the side of the board. So yeah, smart missiles is definitely the right choice. Pathfinder team with a recon and 3 units of stealth suits and a unit of Vespid for secondaries. So good list, buddy. I like that you've rocked out with the new detachment and done well with it. So congratulations to you, Noah. Right then. Okay, and then finally we're going to go on to the South Coast 40k Super Major, which was held in the UK, and it had, I believe, 267 players registered. But I believe it ended up being slightly less. Let me just double check. I want to make sure I got this right. Of 243 players. So I mentioned a hero of mine, and it's a pleasure to see him smashing face in tournaments. So Will be finished 9th, just missing out on the top cut, but achieved 4 wins and a draw. And his average points was 426. But obviously in this volatile meta, the UK is very condensed. It's not as easy to score a lot of, like, hundreds, for example, unless you're a broken army. And he didn't play Orcs, but he played, Eldar, Guard, was just a couple of ones that came to mind. And some Marine variants, and I believe, I can't quite remember. If I look, does it show me? But anyway, let's get onto his list. Sorry, I got sidetracked there. But Will, well done on the performance. Before we look at your list, proud of you, buddy. Keep up the good work. So, went back to the roots. Kion, Darkstrider, love it already. As soon as I saw your list, I was like, I remember this style of list. Just nice and basic. Traditional sustain hits 2 is one hell of a drug. So you got Darkstrider is the Warlord. You've got 2 units of Breachers. You've got a unit of Kroot for Sticky. 2 units of Pathfinders, both with Recon, which I'm interested to find out about because I've been going with 1 Recon, 1 Grav. But maybe you found that the double Recon was paying off for you, or I'm interested to see if you would switch to Grav Drone as well, because I do think having -2 on 1 unit automatically, and then the other unit could use the -2 stratagem for photon grenades. So interesting, slightly different to my thought process, but nonetheless, you've done very well, so I'm interested to find out if you think that was the right call or not. 3 units of 3 stealth suits, which is standard. A unit of Vespid for Uppy Downy, and they're really good in Kion because you can kind of use this unit just for secondaries, but also when you go Uppy Downy, you can keep it in reserve ready for maybe a clever rapid ingress on an unprotected primary point. So I think that's a solid play tactically. Got a Ghost Keel, distraction card effects. It's great in Kion because of Wall of Mirrors. So 1 minute it could be somewhere else, and 1 minute it could be the other side of the board. So I like it. And it can just force your opponent into engagements, and you need something to slow the enemy down in Kion to really kind of buy you that turn that you need to then jump into sustain hits 2. So notice that Will's not got the exemplar of Kion, so he is traditionally waiting until at turn 3, so this is more important for slowing and delaying. And that's what the Breachers will be doing, that's what the Kroot will be doing. And then you've got your 2 dedicated anti-tank, the Railgun Hammerheads with Seekers and Smart Missile Systems. You've got a single Piranha, again, could go and be annoying, do secondaries, tag, block, and it's a cheap 60-point throwaway unit that the opponent most of the time has to trade down against because they have to reveal something considerable to kill it. So I like it. And then obviously it goes with no introduction, Triptide is Eternal, Iron Accelerator, Missiles, Smart Missiles, and then you've got 2 Devilfish to round out the list. So solid traditional Kion list, and I'm glad you brought it back, Will, and well done on your performance. The other mention that I want to give is to a player that I reviewed his list last time, and I pretty much think it's the same list. It's the Kroot Hunting Pack, baby. He finished, Ross Tully finished, I think it was in the 34th, I believe. Could be completely wrong, and if I am, don't shoot me. 33rd, apologies, Ross. And it's Kroot. It's a stat check Kroot list. Double ethereal, 2 shield drones. They can 2 shield drones. He's got a flesh shaper, a lone spear with a Kroot hawkflock, trail shaper, one with nomadic hunter, a war shaper with the root carved weapons for snipey goodness. Kroot unit, 20-man Kroot unit, 20-man Kroot unit, 10-man Kroot unit, 10-man Kroot unit, 10-man Kroot unit, 10-man Kroot unit. Farstalker unit, Kroot hounds, rampagers, 6-man, rampagers, 6-man, rampagers, 6-man. 3 Krootox riders, 2 Krootox riders. Bam! All Kroot, baby. Ethereal there to do CP generation, sits off board, does its thing, and then just a load of angry, juicy booty Krooties. So, well done, Ross. So, in summary, guys, the takeaways for us, and if you have a look at the breakdown here, let me get to that tally chart. There we are. You should be able to see that. So let me just double check you can see it properly on the screen. Yeah. So Tau 42%. You have Kroot hunting back at 80%. There's only one player. You had Kion at 47. Retaliation card, no. Experimental card, 42. So basically, in short, Kroot 80, Kion 47, Retaliation at 43. The experimental prototype card with the new one at 42, and Montcar at 32, and Auxillary Cadre at 29. So even though we did have a 5-1 performance with Auxillary Cadre, we had no real Montcar mentions, no big wins or anything like that. So maybe the time of the killing blow has died down, and we're having to reevaluate. But Kion's kind of consistently creeping back up there, and obviously the Kroot are just being a stat check list and doing its thing. For me, I like the fact that Ret Cad is just sitting at 43 because I'm really going to say that I think Ret Cad is perfect for the current meta. I think Ret Cad and Kion are solidly performing, and I'm going to be hitting the scene with my suits ever so shortly. So hold the phone, and I'll be working my wonders probably with one of those new either experimental prototype cadre detachment or retaliation. I'm cooking up some spice, and I'm already deep in conversation with my subscribers in the Discord, and I'm cooking. So wait and see. Overall, we obviously are not performing how we would like, and we just need to kind of like sit tight and see what happens in the meta over the next coming couple of weeks. What I would say is that, me personally, I don't know, we've been talking that this Daka detachment needs nerfing. I think with the data that's just been presented, it wouldn't shock me if something happens over the next coming weeks to tone this detachment down. There's rumours flying around that they're going to be changing it. But I don't want Orcs just to get nerfed into the ground, because we don't want a scenario where, if you think about Bringers of Flame Sisters, that were absolutely broken, they hit the army too hard, and overall other sister builds started to suffer, and then we've not seen them on the meta for a long time. So I don't want them to be too heavy-handed, but I think this detachment just needs toning down in a few areas. Overall, guys, I want you to have a fantastic week, and please, if you can help me out with the YouTube algorithm, like, comment, subscribe. I gotta really take a moment to thank you guys for the support that I've received recently. I know I've been putting a lot of work into the content that I've been putting out over the last 3 weeks, and it's had some fantastic engagement. And so for the comments and people just generally liking, subscribing, thank you, because we're now up to 5,000 subscribers on YouTube, and my Discord is growing daily, and that is honestly music to my heart, and thank you so much. I wouldn't be in this position, this lucky position, to be able to consider this my full-time occupation without the support that you guys give. And if you want to boost your knowledge and your performance in the game, come and join the Discord. You've got the multiple tiers. available to you, so there's a package for every budget, and I really do pride myself on engaging into the community and showing you guys all of the tricks of the trade, sharing my knowledge and my experience over the last 25 years plus of playing this faction. So there's definitely stuff that you can gain from joining, and a lot of the content that I've been doing for the academy training is available just from Pathfinder tier upwards. And then if you really want to make use of the live calls, the Shaspray and Chassel tier offer you more calls than you would on the standard Pathfinder. And again, it's just been an absolute pleasure to see everybody working together and coming together as one, very much in the style of the greater good, of course. And it's great to see you guys performing, and may it long continue. So I wish you all a fantastic week, and whatever you're going to get up to, stay safe, have fun, and thank you so much. Take care.